What's up YouTube, it's Zapdos TCG here, and thanks again for tuning in for our TCG deck profile video on my channel. Today it's going to be Zoroark Gardevoir time. It's a highly suggested video, so if you guys want to learn about Zoroark Gardevoir in the post-rotation format, well then stick around. There's going to be a deck list for you, so you can start testing it already. So first things first, we are playing a Zoroark deck, so you could have guessed it already. We're gonna play 4 copies of Zoroark GX, so Zoroark GX deck always has, of course, 4 copies of the Zoroark GX, and we know him best, of course. It has the ability trade. If you discard 1 card from the hand, you can draw 4 cards. Actually, not 4 cards, you can draw 2 cards, and for every Zoroark, you can do that. So if you have 2 of them out, you can draw an additional 4 cards during a turn. It's very, very fantastic. It also comes back with the Righteous Beating. Of course, for a simple double card energy, you are able to deal 120 damage if your entire bench is full. With a choice band, that's 150 damage. That is a lot of damage. So 4 copies of Zoroark GX. And with Zoroark GX comes great responsibility, and of course 4 copies of the Zorua. Zorua is needed because this is a weak basic. You can easily get this out. Just to let you guys know, there's going to be a Professor Elm letting you search your deck for 3 Pokemon with 60 HP or less. And that is definitely going to fit in this deck fantastically. But for now, we don't have Professor Elm just yet, so I'm going to talk about another different method to get your basics out, because Bridget is about to be rotated out. So this is a post-rotation deck. Next up is our secondary attacker, Gardevoir GX. We've seen it at Worlds, we've seen it win an international, so the good thing about Gardevoir is hitting the numbers. The infinite force attack that it has deals 30 damage for every energy attached to both active Pokemon, so that can stack up. DCE counts for 2 energy, so that's already 90 if it has a, let's say, a fairy energy and a double card energy and a choice band, that's 120. So Gardevoir definitely does a crazy amount of damage. And if we're facing something like a dragon type, let's say Rayquaza GX, the very popular one, we just one shot with that with a single energy, no problems right there. There's only 3 copies of Ralts because this time around we're not relying on Gallade. Gallade has been rotated out. It was a fantastic card, but now it's going to be a 3-2 line of Gardevoir. It's a secondary attacker. Zoroark GX is still the main attacker. And why are we not running 4 copies of Ralts? Well, we also have something else here. We are gonna have 1 copy of the Magcargo and of course 1 copy of Slugma, so a 1-1 line of Magcargo. The smooth over ability is just way too good not to abuse. As soon as we get a Zoroark GX out and a Magcargo, we can get anything out of the deck at a specific turn. Let's say, oh, we need a Guzma, we put it on top of the deck with smooth over, then we use straight of Zoroark to draw it out. Same goes if you need a rare candy, poof, put it on top of the deck, use straight, and boom, your Gardevoir might be coming up in the field as quickly as turn 2 if you can get a Magcargo out and a Zoroark. Next up is 1 copy of the Tapu Lele. Why is this copy in here? Well, that's because of the magical swap. We have a very, very rough time against Hoopa. I cannot stress that enough. So let's say we're facing something that runs a Hoopa. Well, if we're able to deal 120 damage with Righteous Beating, out of nowhere we could use the magical swap to put those damage counters onto Hoopa and then immediately knock it out. So that is going to be the reasoning behind us playing Tapu Lele. It's also a 1-price attacker, and if you're facing Rayquaza, this can also be kind of a neat strategy here, giving it an energy and a choice band and they're done. Next up is Tapu Lele GX. Of course, this has to be in the deck. Of course, we need to draw our supporters as early as turn 1 because, little spoiler, we're going to be running Appricorn Maker, and with that we can search our deck for Nest Balls to get our basics out. So 3 copies of Tapu Lele is sufficient in this deck. It is also very nice in the late game to just use Tapu Lele and get your Guzma. Another great thing about Tapu Lele is, of course, that you can get your Cynthia of the turn to just have a little bit of draw shuffle, and of course we also have Judge in the deck because sometimes you want to disrupt the opponent. We also have Mallow, Acerola, etc. So very, very solid. We're now gonna go over the supporters in this deck. Okay, the first supporter on the list is going to be Cynthia. There's going to be 4 copies of Cynthia. Why 4 copies? It's the most efficient draw supporter in the format. We lose Sycamore, we lose End, so that's the next best thing. We don't discard anything, which is good. And just a little fun fact, Gardevoir GX has access to the Twilight GX to get 10 cards from the discard back in the deck, so at least we have some things to just get back from the discard. I know we used to rely on Puzzle of Time, but that has been rotated out and it's even illegal or actually banned and expanded, just to let you guys know. Next up, there's going to be 2 copies of Judge. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, hopefully. Yeah, 2 copies of Judge here because I do still think that we need something like N, and Judge is the next best thing. Both players shuffle their hand into the deck and draw 4 cards. Well, you can easily get that out with Smooth Over or Tapu Lele, and as soon as the opponent is a Zoroark player that has a bazillion amount of cards in the hand, we already seen that before, trade, and they have 10 cards in the hand, well, we rely on Judge and we get all those cards back in the deck. Next is the main strategy is Appricorn Maker. We have not seen or heard about Appricorn Maker at all, but Appricorn Maker lets us search our deck for 2 item cards with the name Ball in the item title. So that could be Ultra Ball, that could be, let me just stress this, we have Ultra Ball, we have Nest Ball, we have Timer Ball, so there's a bunch of Pokemon Search Balls in the deck. So with Tapu Lele, first turn Appricorn getting 2 Nest Balls out, boom, our bench will be filled as quickly as possible. So I do think Appricorn Maker fits in very well in this deck. You could also try out Pokemon Fan Club, it's also kind of the same thing, but Appricorn Maker just depletes the chances of us drawing into a Nest Ball and stuff, so it actually decreases the deck, and if you thin out the deck, you'll draw into your Gardevoir or Magcargo or Rare Candies way quicker. Next up, 1 copy of Acerola. Sometimes you'll have a Zoroark with damage on it, you can use Acerola, get that energy back, get that choice band back, all in the hand, and you can just start attaching it to something else. Very solid inclusion here. Also 1 copy of Mallow. I do like Mallow in this deck. You can use Mallow on the first turn, get yourself, of course, if you have a Zoroark out, 2 cards that you can immediately draw out. Sometimes there will be a Magcargo, sometimes a Rare Candy and a Gardevoir, it all depends on the situation. Next up is going to be 3 copies of Guzma. Guzma is still in every single deck because we want to target something on the opponent's bench, and we also have a kind of a switching mechanic here. Magcargo does have a huge retreat cost, so we want to get out of the active. Gardevoir can attack for a single energy, Zoroark can attack for a single energy, Lele, the other, Tapu Lele GX and the regular one. So the only thing that has to get out of the active is Magcargo. We're also gonna run 1 switch, but more on that later. So now with Appricorn Maker out of the way, we're gonna talk about the ball cards in this deck. We're gonna run 4 copies of the Ultra Ball. Ultra Ball is very fantastic. Why is Ultra Ball fantastic? You can search out anything. If you want a Gardevoir, get it out. If you want a Magcargo, get it out. If you want a Lele first turn, get it out. Ultra Ball, 4 copies, definitely. Next up is going to be 3 copies of the Nest Ball. Nest Ball can get out every basic Pokemon. That could be a Zoroark, a Ralts, a Slugma, a Tapu Lele. Don't get out your Tapu Lele GX, otherwise you will not activate the Wonder Tag ability. That's why I didn't explain the Tapu Lele GX at all, because it's in every deck. I explained it a bazillion amount of times. Check out my previous video if you want to learn more about Tapu Leles. And it's also coming out in a promo box, so that is fantastic. And the last 2 balls in this deck is going to be 2 copies of the Timer Ball. Let's just lay them under the Appricorn Maker. 2 copies of Timer Ball. Timer Ball is kind of risky, kind of similar like Evo Soda, but the thing you want is you flip 2 coins for every head, so you can search your deck for an evolution Pokemon. You want your Gardevoir, Magcargo, and Zoroark out as quickly as possible, so 2 copies of the Timer Ball in this deck. I know this deck does run a lot of items, and you might be kind of weak against Trash Challenge, but I do expect with the loss of Garbage Tox that we won't see that much Trash Challenging here and there. I could be wrong though, but yeah, we don't want to expect anything. But Zoroark does have resistance to Psychic, so it's not a big problem. So we're gonna have 3 copies of Rare Candy. Of course, we don't run any Kirlia. That might be something you say in the comments like, oh my god, it doesn't have any Kirlia on the deck. What is this? Well, with Rare Candy, we skip that stage from Ralts. We go immediately to Gardevoir GX. Next up, 1 copy of the Max Potion. We are still playing 1s up, as you can see, 1 Acerola, 1 Mallow, 1 Max Potion. Why are we doing that without Puzzle of Time? I might be going crazy, I might be losing my mind, that could be the case. But we have, of course, the Twilight GX at our disposal, so that's why we are just putting all these cards 1s up. Then out of nowhere, for a single energy, we can put 10 cards from the discard back in the deck, and we are back with, of course, Max Potion, Acerola, etc. Same goes for Enhanced Hammer. A very fantastic card where you can just discard special energies. And just a fun fact, we don't have special charge anymore, we don't have Puzzle of Time. Getting special energies back is only possible with something like, yeah, let's say the Twilight GX or the Oranguru with the resource management. Could also fit in this deck if you want to, but couldn't find the space for it. Next up, 1 copy of the Rescue Stretcher. Sometimes if you want to win the game, you want to use Magical Swap. Well, you can use Rescue Stretcher, get your Magical Swap, then just retreat your Gardevoir, you use the Secret Spring and the Manual Attachment, Damage Swap, boom, you win the game. Fantastic, right? Indeed. Next up, 1 copy of the Field Door. Field Door will be lowered in amounts because Floatstone is gone. You don't want to have, yeah, you're not facing Garbage Toxing anymore, just a fun fact. So that's why only 1 copy of Field Door is sufficient. Be careful of the Shrine of Punishment though, because of course we are only running one copy of Field though. We're not running any Stadium cards, so against the spread deck we'll have a very rough time. But as mentioned, just put some damage on the field, use magical swap, so even against Hoopas we can just put the damage and put it on something else if we don't one shot. Okay, moving forward we're gonna run 3 copies of Choice Band. I do think 3 copies of Choice Band is kind of a neat thing in this situation because Gardevoir can easily hit the numbers. Let's say you have Secret Spring, a DCE attachment and a Choice Band. Well, the Infinite Force will deal 120 damage, so if the opponent has 2 or 3 energies, they're gonna be done for depending on what you're facing. So that is amazing. And then to finish off the list, the last item card is 1 copy of Switch. We don't have any float stones to work with, which is unfortunate, but we have Smooth Over. If you're stuck in the active, we can easily get out thanks to that 1 copy of Switch. It might be priced, that could happen from time to time, but if it's not priced, it's gonna be fantastic. And then, to finish off the list, there's gonna be 4 copies of the basic Fairy Energies, which we can easily attach to the Gardevoir with Secret Spring, or to the Tapu Lele, depends on what you want to do here, or maybe on Zoroark if you have 2 attachments of the turn, and then of course 4 double colorless energies. So that is going to finish off the list of Zoroark GX with Gardevoir GX. It's still a very fantastic deck, has a great matchup against Mallow, thanks to of course the Gardevoir being able to one-shot Ultra Necrozmas, Zoroark being able to one-shot Dawnwing Necrozmas. Gardevoir also one-shots things like Rayquaza GX and maybe other dragon types that might come around. And a very solid deck all around. Let me know in the comment section what you think about this particular list. What would you change? And let me know in the comment section as well what deck you want to see, what deck list you want to see post-rotation build like this. I have still a bunch of cards I want to talk about. We already did Zoroark Lycanroc, Tapu Bulu. We did even other shenanigans on the stuff post-rotation like Naganadel Stack Attacker. There's all a bunch of stuff possible. Let me know in the comment section. I'll love to hear your suggestions, and I will see you guys soon enough. If you enjoyed what you saw, be sure to demolish the like button as always, because you know I always appreciate that, and subscribe for more. Anyhow, see you guys in the next Pokemon TCG video. I'm out. Peace.